So last year, I was at the International Criminal Court of The Hague. I spoke with the prosecutor general of the Hague. We had a good conversation. I understand that the Department of Defense has expressed concerns that assisting the ICC's investigation could open the door to prosecutions of U.S. service members, something that has largely been dismissed by legal experts. I raised this issue with the Prosecutor General. It was not his intention by any stretch of the imagination to do that. If anything, he actively solicited the support of the United States, particularly in information, to substantiate the cases. Do you share the concerns that has been raised by the Department of Defense?
Well, I'll say at the outset that in my role as the lead diplomat in the international justice space, I would work tirelessly to ensure that no U.S. personnel would be brought before the ICC if that were ever to come to pass again. But I do not think that that is an acute risk at this time. The prosecutor has already announced that he has deprioritized any investigation into international forces in Afghanistan and is instead turning his attention, as is appropriate, to ongoing crimes against humanity being committed by the Taliban, by ISIS-K, and by other non-state actors in Afghanistan. In addition, we know that the court operates under a principle of complementarity, so that if the national system steps up, the court will step back. That is what the prosecutor has said. And we have a robust system of military justice, and we now have the new War Crimes Act. And so we are in a very good position to take care of any matters that might emerge in the future in some future hypothetical situation. I do not think that the argument that by assisting in this matter, which involves the nationals of a non-state party, we are at all undermining our ability to robustly protect against any charges that might be brought or any interest in U.S. personnel in the future.
Well, I appreciate that analysis because my own discussion with him in front of other members, our members, he said exactly the same thing. So I don't understand why the Department of Defense is not providing critical information so that we can ultimately get accountability here. Why does the State Department support providing information and other assistance to the ICC's Ukraine investigation? What do we have to contribute to the cause? You mentioned some of it in your opening statement. How critical is our assistance versus other sources?
It's extremely hard to imagine the United States standing on the sidelines in this investigation, given all that we have done, the investment that we've made in Ukraine, the investment that we've made in pursuing justice in Ukraine. We are uniquely positioned to assist with this investigation, given the unique assets that we have, the intelligence that we have, the brilliance of our diplomats and our subject matter and regional experts within the State Department and elsewhere. There are many ways that we could be supporting this investigation, including with respect to witness protection, insider witnesses that may want to give testimony. All of that are ways that we have in the past assisted with international prosecutions before international and hybrid courts. So there are a range of ways that we could be of assistance, and none of that would, I think, jeopardize. In fact, I think it strengthens our position vis-a-vis the court because it shows us that engagement works. It's important to maintain open lines of communication with international organizations, not just the court, but other international organizations that might make decisions that we might disagree with. It's important to engage in constructive, helpful assistance when we can, because that shows that we are a good faith, trusted partner in this regard. So when we have issues with an international organization, we know who to call. We have lines of communication open. We have built a relationship of trust that we can then rely on and call upon if we're ever again finding ourselves in a defensive posture.
Senator Coons, who was with me on this trip and who's been pursuing some legislation in this regard, heard the same thing. And one of the things that we heard is that the ICC has never had the nature of the challenge of a nation state as large as Russia. As an adversary in a sense, of course, because Putin dictates what that nation state does. For example, how does the ICC protect witnesses who speak truth to power about Putin's atrocities? The reach of, we have seen in the Skripal and other attacks of what Russia is capable of doing, going far outside of its borders into other countries to pursue people who speak out against the regime. What more does the ICC need to do to protect witnesses and victims, to protect its own security and cybersecurity infrastructure? This is unlike anything the ICC has ever undertaken. And so, can you speak to that?
You're exactly right, and I've heard the same thing in my visits to The Hague and when the registrar and other key principals of the ICC have come here to the United States. The court feels like it's under assault. This is an adversary like they've never seen, and it has the skills and ability to infiltrate the institution in ways that previous situation countries did not present. You may have read recently there was an attempt to place an intern that was masquerading as a Brazilian graduate student. We are now prosecuting that individual for spying and other measures here in the United States because they were living undercover here. So these are the means that they are taking in order to try and protect themselves against this particular investigation. And given our tech sector, given our excellent cybersecurity understanding and skills and personnel, we are, again, uniquely positioned to be able to audit what sort of protections the court has and to be able to make recommendations about how they can strengthen their ability to protect evidence, but also to protect those witnesses. No matter how much open source evidence is out there, and we know there's reams, terabytes being generated, these cases still always will rely upon individuals, as you say, willing to speak truth to power, willing to step up and put themselves and their families at risk because they can tell a story, they can bear witness to what they have experienced. We need to keep those individuals safe or these cases will not be able to proceed effectively.
We need to keep them alive. Senator Risch.